Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the show. Today is Sunday, August 1st, 2021, and this is your People of the Lie review series. I am your host, PTE, and it is so good to have you this evening. We are moving right along. Can you believe it, guys? We got like 3 under the belt, I think in less than a month. That's pretty impressive if I do say so myself. Okay, so welcome everybody to the show. Welcome. Some of you received the new and improved email notification this evening. I hope you guys like that. Shout out to the viewer who recommended MailChimp to me a few months ago. I looked into it and it looked like a really good deal, so I tried it out tonight for the first time. If you are interested in joining the mailing list, it is now automated. Oh my God. Thank you, God. It is automated. The link is in the description box, kind of towards the middle or maybe perhaps towards the end, but it is in there. It says join the mailing list and it is automated, honey. You can put yourself on there and you can take yourself off, and I don't have to do it anymore. The whole time I was keeping an Excel spreadsheet. Some of you know. But yeah. So anyway, you can join the mailing list and it should kick back a welcome email to you. So if someone would just let me know if that is working, it was working for me when I tested it. So hopefully it is working for you as well. So anyway, welcome everybody to the show. We are continuing on in our review series of People of the Lie. Such a good book, so much in it. You know, I really do skip over a lot because eventually we would just end up reading the whole book together because it really all is important. Welcome to everybody in the chat. It's so good to have you. So I remember to put these in here this time. A couple of disclaimers. If you're new here, this series does deal with evil, spirituality, and religion. There is heavy psychological content that has the potential to be triggering. And for this particular show, I am sticking with the traditional religious interpretations for the sake of consistency and clarity. And what I mean by that is there are some of you who follow my other channel. You guys know I have a very advanced theory on all of this, on God, on the gender of God, and all of that. And I've actually linked both of those shows in the description box for you. You can check those out. However, if you're a fundamentalist, you may not want to. But the more and more I meditate on my theory, the more I think it's correct. I really do every single day. But we are not here to talk about that. That's what this other channel is for. Tonight, we are going to focus on the traditional religious interpretations. So you won't hear me wavering back and forth. You'll hear me sticking to the script, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. So welcome, everybody. It's so good to have you. Now, for those of you who this ends up being just a little bit too much for, we do have a resource in BetterHelp. They are a channel sponsor meaning we're partnered, but they are indeed a channel sponsor. And they are offering 10% off to my viewers and subscribers. So check them out if you just need a therapist, especially during this time of lockdown, coming out of lockdown. You might just want someone to talk to, and you may not want to do that in person. So this is the book that we are reviewing and have been reviewing for a year now, with like a 6-month break in between, which I extend my deepest apologies for, but we're back. We're going to focus on the present. And it is by Dr. M. Scott Peck, written in 1983, national bestseller, and continues to be. And I'm sure they've seen an uptick over the past year and probably wondering why. Like, why all of a sudden is this book starting to sell again? Probably, I would estimate that we have at least a little bit to do with that, at least a little bit, okay? And there is a link to it in the description box. It is an affiliate link, so if you buy it through there, it does kick me back like 59 cents, which turn up. Don't spend it all in one place. All right. So you guys, tonight's chapter, tonight's theme. Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, sorry. Someone just sent me a message through Twitter. Those of you who do sign up for the email address or for the email mailing list, it will kick back an address to you. That is the P.O. box that I was talking about. So I'm aware that it's there. I know that it's there. I didn't have a choice. So that's part of the reason that I went ahead and signed up for a P.O. box. Did not have a choice but to put it there. No, I don't live there, but you're more than welcome to take yourself out there and see for yourself, to hang around, lurk, I won't be out there, but I do have a P.O. box. So I am aware that it kicks back an address, okay? But thank you so much for looking out for me like that in the event that I didn't know that it kicked back an address, okay? But I tested this thing for like 2 days straight because I just wanted to know everything that it did. So I am aware, but thank you. I appreciate you looking out for me like that. I really do. And that is my official P.O. box. So those of you who sign up for the mailing address will have it. And if you want to send me things, send me things. Feel free. You guys know what I want: books, paper towels, pens, and honestly, whatever you're moved to send, okay? You can send it to that P.O. box. So we'll see if it works. Okay, back to the show. Thank you so much again, though. I do appreciate that. So, tonight's theme and topic is the father of lies. And those of you who are religious or spiritual at all, or have any involvement with the Bible at all, already know who we're talking about. So, traditionally and historically, the father of lies is Satan himself. Okay, that is what the Bible calls him. And that is the theme of tonight's show and also the title of this particular chapter. So in my book, that chapter starts on page 202. Okay, so we are going to move through it from page 202, and we have a lot to discuss tonight. So welcome, everybody. I so love how you looked out for me like that. God, I appreciate you. Just in the event that I didn't know, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you to the viewer who sent me that message on Twitter. So on page 203, it says, "It was so enamored of itself that Satan perceived this an intolerable personal insult." Okay. So on page 203, we begin to know the hows and the whys of what's wrong with Satan. What's Satan's problem? How did this all start to go wrong? And again, I've given a theory on my other channel, but according to the book and also according to the Bible, as far as my knowledge goes, and I do want to put this out there, my biblical knowledge is not perfect. So please don't hold my feet to the fire. If you know the correct scriptures and things of that nature, do please put them in the chat to keep me honest and keep us all honest here, okay? But I do have pretty heavy biblical knowledge, but it's not perfect and it's not sound. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that. But I'm not a heathen either. We'll get there. So anyway, it was so enamored of itself that Satan perceived this an intolerable personal insult. So in the book, it talks about how initially Satan was in charge of enhancing the spiritual growth of human beings. So basically, he was supposed to be a teacher, a mentor, a guide, a leader. You know what I mean? He was supposed to elevate humanity to the next level and kind of evolve them mentally and spiritually. But somehow, somewhere along the lines, he became very, very impressed with himself. So then, when Christ was formed or born, some say Christ has been there since the beginning. There's all kinds of different interpretations. But according to the book, when Christ was then developed to go save humanity, to be the savior of humanity, Satan was so upset that it became basically a deep narcissistic injury, okay? And one that he never got over, and one that basically fuels his campaign of terror from then up until this very day, okay? So that was the beginning of the issue. Pride, puffed up, too sold on himself, thought that he was the best, the greatest, even better than God, right? So this is the beginning, I would honestly say, of Satan's mental illness. And that's not to be insensitive or indifferent to people who have actual mental illness, but this was the beginning of his. This was at least the beginning of his error, the start of his mistake, okay? So then also on page 203, as a result of this narcissistic injury that Satan sustained, Satan created the situation in which heaven was not big enough for the both of them. Now, according to the book, the both of them would be Satan and Christ. But you could also say heaven was not big enough for Satan and God. They both couldn't rule. God is the supreme one, the leader over all, and there can be no other God beside him. So if Satan wants to be beside him, that's kind of a problem, you see? So it created a situation in heaven where there wasn't room for both of them. Somebody had to go. Okay. So, and all of this is kind of building up and leading up to the character traits of Satan as it relates to evil people. Okay. So, this is just how the chapter is starting. Welcome, everybody in the chat. It is so good to have you. So, again, we're getting more insight on the personality and character of Satan. On page 203, it says, where once the light bearer now dwells in darkness as the father of lies, nursing continual dreams of revenge against God. Okay. So you have to understand what has taken place here. You had a person who basically got dressed down and demoted in the worst way possible, had a really, really great position in heaven, had the ultimate position, the highest position in heaven, but allowed jealousy and envy and pride to consume him to such an extent that he got kicked out of heaven and now nurses continual dreams of revenge against God. Okay. So this is all setting up the character and the personality of the spirit or this entity called Satan. Okay. So now, what does Satan do and how does Satan spend his time day in and day out? Satan spends his time day in and day out waging continual war against God's design. That's on page 203, and then it carries on into page 204. So, for those, and again, if you're atheistic, you may not buy into all of this, but I do think you'll find value even just looking at kind of why we have so many problems in the world. Doesn't it feel like there's a spirit or an entity or something waging continual war against the design, even if you don't believe in God? Waging continual war against God's design, day in and day out. Now, people tend to get very limited when you think of design or the word design. People tend to only think of like the human body or maybe nature, and they kind of tend to stop there. But the design is actually more expansive than that. And when you start to understand how expansive the design really is, you start to see how Satan or evil or whatever you want to call it wages continual war against it. In other words, the most simple way that you could look at it is that Satan goes against everything that makes sense, everything that is orderly, everything that makes sense. Gosh, what is that saying? I say it all the time too. Well, I don't say, do I say this all the time? I'm not sure. But one saying is that would be just too much like right. So, in other words, when you're like, if you're dealing with some level of bureaucracy, meaning a whole bunch of rules and loopholes and paperwork that you have to go through, for example, the job application process. Anyone who's ever had to apply for a job before knows how ridiculous it is because typically they ask you to upload your resume first, which you do. Then they turn around and ask you everything that's on the resume. Now, the technology has gotten better to where they do something called parsing the resume, meaning they're able to pull your name, your address, your jobs. To some extent, it's not perfect yet, but it kind of works sometimes, kind of. But for the most part, you have to re enter everything that's already on your resume. So it leads one to the natural question, well, why did you ask for my resume? Like, ask for one or the other, either ask for the resume or ask me to enter it all in, but that would be too much like right, wouldn't it? So that would be a perfect example of that would be too much like right, meaning Doing it correctly would just be too much like right, too godly. This is an idea that I've been nursing for a long time, meditating on for many, many weeks and probably months. When we think of like righteousness or godliness, oftentimes we think, oh, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't curse, I don't have premarital sex, I don't judge, I help the homeless and people in need, I give money to charity. So that makes me righteous and godly, right? And those things could be argued for or against. What I'm here to tell you is that there's more to righteousness, and it's actually built into the word righteousness, right, doing it right, righteousness, doing it right. What is it? Whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever it is, do it right. Righteousness. Does that make sense? So then when you look at this quote again, it now wages continual war against God's design. God is not the author of chaos. God is very orderly. So anything that God does is done correctly, is done in decency and in order, and it's done right. Righteousness. So a lot of righteousness has nothing to do with what you consider holiness or purity. Nothing at all. Nothing. Like, for example, oh man, I need to start coming with examples, but I don't always know where I'm going to go with these things. So that's why I don't always come prepared. But you know, folding a t-shirt, I don't know, like fold it right. Like this is just all I can come up with on the fly. You see what I mean? Pretty much anything you do, do it right. That's true righteousness. But Satan wants to convince you that you don't have to, that you don't have to do things right, that it's okay to do them okay or haphazardly or so. That's part of Satan's job, to convince you that you don't have to do things right. You can just kind of sort of do them and you'll be fine. But look at the life of people who only do things halfway or who always do things the wrong way, always trying to find a shortcut. And I don't mean an efficiency, I don't mean a hack. Like if you find a life hack and it works, I'm not talking about hacks. I'm talking about like you never do your laundry for 2 months and then you wonder why you have no clothes. That's what I mean. Like Satan is trying to convince you to put aside everything that is right and doing things the right way. Oh man, got to work on that idea more. But I think you guys get it. And hopefully you are rolling with me. So let's go. Or hopefully you're rocking with me. Yes, let's move on. So this is also on page 204. It says, the spirit I witnessed at each exorcism was clearly, utterly, and totally dedicated to opposing human life and growth. One second, I wanted to see. There was one more thing I wanted to say, I think. No, we'll come back to that. Okay. So this is the doctor talking. It says, the spirit I witnessed at each exorcism was clearly, utterly, and totally dedicated to opposing human life and growth. And again, you have to expand outward. People will see human life and automatically think babies, pregnancy, abortion. There, see, told you. And I'm sure that's part of it. But what about the lives that are already here? The lives that have come out of the womb and are now growing? Think about all that that life involves. Think about how much that life could grow from a child to late adulthood and ultimately death. Think about the potential that resides within that person. Part of Satan's job or Satan's mission is to stamp out and stomp out that potential. That's very important. Yes, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but he can steal all kinds of things. And one of those is like potential or anything that simply makes life worth living, anything that makes life good or makes life great. Stomping and opposing those things at every single turn. It's not simply about birth. It's also about what happens after a child is born. What kind of life will they live? Oh, education? Oh, no, sure. Let's put that on the back burner. And let's make sure we pretend that education isn't important. So, what happens then? The child doesn't really grow. They don't grow mentally, they don't grow emotionally. Do you see? Its job is to stomp out life and growth at every turn. Every turn. Oh, you want to live and be healthy? Okay, well, we'll make sure that health insurance is tied to a job. So to live, you always have to be employed by somebody. And at least here in the United States, um, or if you don't have a job, then we'll make the cost so astronomical that you might actually die as a result of not having health insurance. Do you see how that opposes human life and growth? And these are just simple examples. These are just examples I'm pulling off the top of my head. One that's very near and dear to my heart, as many of you know, is driving and traffic and the layout and everything. And here's why. If we each only have 24 hours in a day, why would we want to waste any of it ever? Okay. Now, some things in life are inevitable. For example, accidents. Accidents happen, tires fall off, trees fall in the road, things of that nature. The surface becomes slick and people start hydroplaning. Accidents happen. But what I mean is traffic lights that'll have you sitting there for 3 and 4 minutes, even though nothing is coming on the cross. Why haven't we fixed that yet? That little inefficiency, if you were to do the math over the course of an average lifetime, has stolen hours and days and probably weeks away from some of you. And why? For what? And how do you see how that opposes human life? What could you have done with those hours and weeks and months and days of time? Satan is here to steal time as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is anything in our lives that is within our control that goes against life is pretty much of the devil, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's of the devil. If it opposes human life and growth, it's of the devil. It is. Like, and I could go so far down the rabbit hole with this, but my purpose is to try to get you to think of more than birth and reproduction and think about a whole human life and what that consists of and all the different ways that life is opposed post birth, after birth, like after you're born, and the different ways that human growth and evolution is opposed by way of, oh man, by way of narcissism, truly, by way of attempting to keep people freeze framed, basically, and stuck in this one day, this one pattern. They don't want to see people move on to the next level, but that's what we're supposed to be doing as human beings. That's 100% what we're supposed to be doing because we have the ability to. You see? It would be one thing if we still had rocks and we're still grunting around, you know what I mean? But we're so far past that, and it almost seems like the further along we get, like with technology, the dumber we're getting. And that is not how this is supposed to work. I'm actually working on a show of all the different little requests, the tech requests that I want. And I'm going to put it out there and just pray that somebody will pick up on it and do these things. Because it's like these little things that would improve efficiency like times 10, and in some cases times 100. Okay, we'll get there. Moving on. But tech, in many ways, could be said to oppose life and growth, but that'll take me down a rabbit hole that we'll never get out of. Okay, so this is on page 204. He's talking about the spirit that used to come out of people when they would be exorcised or in the middle of these exorcisms. And he said there was absolutely nothing creative or constructive about it. It was purely destructive. Okay. And if there's no other word I think we've used more to describe narcissists on this channel, it would be the word destructive. They are very, very destructive people. A lot of times when this word comes up, it comes up in debates where they're trying to say that the narcissist is sick and needs our sympathy. And I have always said they might be sick, but that doesn't make them any less dangerous. And it doesn't make them any less destructive either. It doesn't make them either less of either one of those things just because you're sick. Yeah, the chat says the devil wants us all numb and dumb. Yes. Yes. Because it's easier to manipulate you that way. It's easier to manipulate you when you're pretty much a hollow shell. So now it says there was absolutely nothing creative or constructive about it. It was purely destructive. And it made me think that a potential sign of evil could be a lack of creativity. And this was confirmed in a video I did. I think it's on narcissist demonic possession part 2, where we sampled the David Icke video. And he was basically saying, and I know a lot of you have different feelings about David Icke. At this point, I've just separated the message from the messenger with him. And I don't know as much as you guys know, but all I know is he was making sense in that video. And he basically said that he calls them archons. And he said that all they can do is imitate, they can't create. So his quote, all they can do is imitate, but they can't create. Plus, this one here, there was nothing creative or constructive about it, leads me to believe that Satan and evil has no creative ability. None. And it's so strange when you are a creative person, it's hard to imagine not being one. Like, I can't process that. I wouldn't know what it's like to not be able to come up with something. You see what I mean? So maybe that's one of the number one signs of life. Like, I can't say if that's a sign that you're a godly person or not. That would be up for debate. But maybe that's one of the number one signs of life. You have a creative force within you versus evil that all it can do is either copy or imitate, but there's nothing creative or constructive about it. All is purely destructive. That's all it does. So I just thought that was so interesting. Like, it makes me want to study creativity more because, again, it's not something I've ever really thought about. Like, I'm so creative. One of the thoughts that makes me sad in this life is that I'm not going to be able to, quote unquote, give birth to all of my different ideas. I don't think I'm going to be able to. That's why I need a historian or an archivist. So maybe like 200 years from now, somebody will find it and be like, oh my gosh, let's bring this out. But I don't think I'm ever going to be able to put it all out there. I don't think I'll ever have the time. I'm going to try to do as much as possible though. But so again, to imagine the opposite of that, I just can't. Like, it's beyond me. But I think it might be a potential sign of evil, a lack of creativity. It's something to look out for. It's now been confirmed twice for us. Okay. So yeah, the chat says that's why the narc spirit sucks the life spirit out of people. Right. They are just siphoning because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. So anytime they can kind of get some of it, it's like, whew, okay. Like they can breathe again type situation. At least temporarily. That's why they can't, oh my God, that's why they can't be alone. They have to constantly refuel. But I don't think they'll actually die though. I don't think they'll actually physically die. But I think maybe psychologically they die. That's interesting. So this is on page 204. And the question that he put forth in the book is, why doesn't God just simply destroy Satan? Like, just get rid of it. Oh, this is so interesting. And I think we're going to talk more about this on my other channel. But in the book, it says, perhaps the answer is that God gave Satan free will and that God cannot destroy. He can only create. Okay. Now, this actually goes in line with a theory of mine that I haven't shared yet, but I will share it with you guys on my other channel, A Deeper PTE. But there's an issue with this concept, and the issue is The Bible actually says the exact opposite. Okay. So the Bible actually says, this is in Deuteronomy 32 and 39 of the King James Version. It says, "See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand." Okay. Now, here's what's interesting about this. And I looked this up, and the King James Version does not capitalize He, God, or I think those are the only two. Yeah. See now that I, even I, am He. That He normally should be capitalized. And that God, well, I guess no, that's correct. And there's no God with me, meaning there's no small God with me, I guess. I don't know, but I thought the lack of capitalization, at least on the He, was interesting, but that's how it is in the KJV. Now, other versions capitalize those things, but I do think it makes a difference. But anyway, this is not the only place, I don't think, where God basically says, I'm responsible for all of this, all of it. So I don't know. But the what's being put forth in the book actually kind of aligns with the theory I have. And I don't want to speak on it because then I'll accidentally do the whole video here and I'll have nothing to put over there. But I thought this was interesting. It's an interesting theory. Perhaps God can't destroy things. God can only create things. And imagine the type of problems that that would create. If you can't get rid of anything, imagine everything you ever bought you still have. Or imagine not being able to get rid of your trash. Okay, so let me shut up before I mess around and do that video. Let's move on. Okay, so again, this is another theory that the author puts forth in the Bible. Okay, and it says, this is on page 204. It said, and I edited this because it was kind of long and I pulled out the most important parts. But those of you with the book, you have the whole thing there. It says, the point is that God does not punish. To create us in His image, God gave us free will. Yet to give us free will, God had to forswear the use of force against us. It is not necessarily that God lacks the power to destroy or punish us, but that in His love, He painfully and terribly has chosen never to use it. In agony, He must stand by and let us be. He has not recourse but to watch us punish ourselves. Okay? So, in other words, what the author is saying here is that if free will is what has been given to us, then how much sense would it make to punish you for something that I allowed you to freely do? So, what the author is saying here is that the free will is basically karma. Karma, you have free will on the one hand and karma on the other. They go hand in hand. So the reward for free will is karma. Yeah, wow, right? So in other words, it's not that God, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I just think this is very interesting. In other words, what he's saying is like when bad things happen in the world, God didn't do that. God is allowing us to go through all of this as a direct result of our choices. Our choices as a collective, our choices as individuals. God is allowing us to go through it all. But it obviously begs the question, why do bad things then happen to what we consider to be good people, and especially like children? What did a child do? You know what I mean? I don't have an answer for you, you guys. I don't. Um, I honestly do not have an answer for you for that. Because if this theory is true, then what about when bad things happen to good people? You know what I mean? Or innocent people? Is there a such thing as innocence? You know what I mean? And then that opens the door to other questions like, do we have past lives that we're paying for? Do we come here And maybe we didn't reap our karma in that past life, but we reap it here. And here it looks like it happened to an innocent person, but really it's happening because of something we did in the past. I don't know. It opens up an entire wormhole for me. But it kind of makes sense though. If I gave you free will, then I have to sit back. And sometimes that means I have to sit back and watch you destroy yourself. I do. And how sad is that? How tragic is that? But I have to let you do it because otherwise it's not free will, you know? And it would also kind of go in line with the theory that we get to choose ultimately where we go in terms of heaven or hell. We, bless you, baby. We either get to choose heaven or we get to choose to go to hell. But if anyone or anything intervened in that process, then did you really make the choice? It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting theory. I don't know. I don't know. I really, really, really don't know the answer to this. Okay. But it's something to think about. All right. So moving on, page 206, he presents two revelations in regard to evil and exorcisms and things of that nature. The first revelation he presented, and he presented this before, was that ultimately the patient had to be the exorcist, meaning that it didn't matter how badly the exorcist wanted it, how badly their family wanted it, or even how badly God wanted it for them. Ultimately, the patient had to be the one to let go and the one to release and exercise this thing out of them. It has to come from them. And I think this is a positive reminder that the person or people that you're dealing with and contending with in your life that you suspect might be narcissist or evil or both, you have to know that there's really nothing you can do. The only thing you can really do is pray that they want it for themselves one day. That is the best prayer that you could possibly ever offer them, praying that they want it for themselves one day. I pray that you want this for yourself one day. That is the most powerful prayer I think you can make for them, because otherwise, what this is trying to tell you is that there's nothing you can do until they want it. Now, once they want it and truly want it, you might be able to help then. But until then, there's nothing you can really do. You have to pray that they want it for themselves. That's all that you can pray. Okay. The next revelation was that Satan has no power except in a human body. And I think we talked about this before on the last People of the Lie, or we talked about it somewhere else. But Satan has to have a body. And I think ultimately this was part of his curse. This was part of the curse. The removal of a body, or the ability to have his own body, him and his demons, or him and the angels that got kicked out with him, they're no longer allowed to have their own body. So whether we realize it or not, our bodies are truly a gift. And the thought that I was having around this is, man, this is deep. I should probably save this. Now, I'll do a little over here. I can't save everything for over there. But here's the thought that I was having around this, okay? And it goes pretty deep. So Satan has no power except in a human body, meaning that potentially part of Satan's curse is that Satan is not allowed to have his own body. So Satan has to inhabit other bodies, right? Meaning your body is truly a gift to you. It is a gift. It is yours. It belongs to you. You didn't have to like go inhabit somebody else. So whoever you are, your first name, say your first name, that first name didn't have to go inhabit somebody else in order to live on planet Earth. Okay. Like it's yours. It belongs to you. Okay. And it's kind of strange to think about, but think about it like this. Pretend that you had to go like put on a dinosaur costume to walk around society. And the only way you could walk around society is to go put on this silly dinosaur costume. But that's what you have to do because that's the type of bodies that everybody has. And in order for you to look normal and be normal, you have to go like put on this dinosaur costume every day, but you're not a dinosaur. You're just inhabiting one. That's the best I got. Okay. So, with that in mind, it made me think this, y'all. This might blow your mind. What if everyone thinks that after we die, well, I won't say everyone, that's a generalization. I'll say a lot of people think that after we die, there's nothing, right? Or there's nothingness, or, maybe before we get judged, there's a period of nothingness, just blankness and blackness, right? But what if the truth is, after you die, there's nothing but awakeness? You're nothing but awake. So again, most people think that after you die, you just go out into like blackness, darkness, or whatever. You're just out, no consciousness, no awareness whatsoever. What if it's the exact opposite? What if after you die, it's pure awareness, 100%, meaning your mind and brain didn't really go anywhere. Like you just don't have a body anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how problematic that would be? Do you see how problematic it would be to never be able to sleep? You're just up all day thinking about things all day. You can't do anything. You might want to write a book. So you're just sitting here, a disembodied mind, basically, with no ability to do anything. You can't pick anything up. You can't sit anything down. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You can't do anything but think all day. So truly, the body is like a reprieve from that in a way, potentially. It's just a thought. We might explore it more on my other channel, but that's what this made me think. Like, oh, dang, what if after death it's just nothing but nonstop awakeness, like 100% 24/7? That would really suck, I would think. I think that would suck. And that would explain why then, I guess some spirits work overtime trying to possess or inhabit anything. Like, please put me in an ant, put me in a fly, anything to just to make it stop. We'll talk about that more on my other channel. No naps. Exactly. Yeah, that might be hell. Exactly. That might be hell, not being able to sleep. It's almost like life is like a break from the endlessness of endlessness, basically. So, and if God is truly a parent, maybe God just got tired of y'all bugging him. Like, oh my God, they're still bored. Here, I'll design Earth and I'll design a planet and I'll design bodies and I'll trap them in these bodies for anywhere between 70 to 90 years to make them think that they're not awake all the time, but they really are. And at least this will cure their boredom of the endlessness of endlessness for at least 70 to 90 years. It's a temporary cure from boredom. Whew, it's kind of deep. We'll talk about it more. So, this is on page 206. It says the only power that Satan has is through human belief in its lies. Okay. So, in other words, what this is saying is that Satan is truly powerless. And I almost put that up there as the header. But then I was just like, man, it seems so hard to believe, even though I know it's true. On a spiritual level, I know it's true. It's just like when you look at Satan's handiwork, though, he sure doesn't seem powerless. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the end result, he doesn't feel powerless. But I think that's the whole point. He's so effective because people believe in its lies, all of the lies. Like, oh man, I hope most of you have this book. And I hope that you've been reading it because it's really so profound and I can only go but so deep. You know what I mean? There's almost no words for it because what I'm trying to articulate is the lies that Satan has you believe are extensive and they're not always like lies that you would think would cause any harm at all. You know what I mean? So in other words, Satan has you believing big lies and small lies, but they're all lies nonetheless. You see? So, and I think we were talking about this on the last episode, how so many corporations and workplaces are based on whether or not you're presenting with a smile every day. And if you are, then in their minds, everything is okay or everything will be okay. But face the honest truth about what's going on behind the closed doors of that corporation, never that. And that is the lie. The lie is show up with a smile, even though you know this place is falling apart. Here's how you know you're involved in a corporation that is a lie. Anytime someone gets hired new, like a new hire, and you actually feel sorry for them, like you hear they hired the new guy or the new girl, and you're just like, oh, poor baby. Poor baby. And like, a lot of companies do the meet and greet with everyone, and you have to put on that smile and, present positively. And of course, like you want people to feel welcome. It's not about them feeling welcome, it's about you knowing what they just signed up for. You see what I mean? Yeah, Satan helps you rationalize and helps you rationalize it away also. Okay? So let's keep going. Whew, it's so deep. So it says on page 207, during each exorcism, Satan's lies were confronted. So if you remember from the last episode, The Accidental Exorcist, on that episode, it was saying that all exorcisms are basically like an assault with the truth, right? I forgot how it was worded exactly, but it was like all exorcisms are assault by truth or something like that. Oh, no, here it is. Exorcism is psychotherapy by massive assault. Basically. And what you're really doing is peppering them with the truth to such an extent that you cause them to have an exorcism. A lot of times you can see this happening online on YouTube, actually. So if you ever watch a debate where someone is confronting someone who is either clearly wrong or knows they're wrong or something. So, in other words, the debate is not gray. Like there's a clear right and a clear wrong. And you watch them confront the person who is clearly wrong. You can see these exorcisms take place on YouTube. It's amazing. Usually they just start cursing, screaming, yelling. If it's their show, they'll mute the person. And if it's not their show, they'll just hang up. It's incredible, which goes right along with the exorcisms. They run. When you start hitting someone with the truth over and over and over again, man, like it is absolutely unbelievable to me how people respond to the truth and how people respond to correction. And that is why we are in the place and in the situation that we're in today, you guys. I'm telling you, it's why. Because Satan lied and made us believe that there's no need to correct others. And you don't always have to really tell the truth. Tell a gentle lie, to make them feel better, right? And as a result, we have the society that we have today. We really do. Most people cannot be confronted with the truth. They can't handle the truth. They melt down. They break apart. It's absolutely unreal. It's crazy. And you all already know this. I'm not saying anything revolutionary at this moment, but this would be why, though, because when you're confronting someone with the truth, you are exercising them. I think this is why so many domestic incidents turn violent. Because when you have lies and deception in a domestic situation, and then those lies and deception come to the forefront, essentially that is an exorcism in that moment. And if they can't run, sometimes they turn violent. I just think that's what's happening a lot of times. I really, 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 really do. I think a lot of times when people get arrested, they start to exercise themselves because it's the first time, possibly, that they've met up with their consequences. It's possible that up until that point, they've always been able to run, 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 run. And then when it finally all comes together in that moment, it starts to produce an exorcism of sorts. I'm telling y'all, this stuff is serious and it's real. It really is. Like, it's crazy. So you have to tread lightly. And honestly, as you're forming new friendships and things like that, you need to make sure you're dealing with people who can handle the truth at all times. So here's what I mean by that. Here's what I mean also by the petty little things that Satan lies about. So for example, let's say you and a new friend try out a new restaurant, and you both wanted to try it, right? And when you leave, or maybe halfway through, you're like, man, the food's not very good here, right? Someone who struggles with the truth would start to get all uncomfortable and be like, well, they have really great atmosphere and the band is nice. And that might be true. The atmosphere might be great and the band might be nice. We're not negating their truth, but the truth of the matter might also be the food is not very good. So if you see that they suddenly start trying to clean up the truth, meaning you said, man, the food is not very good here. And they're like, well, the band is nice and it's a really great atmosphere and it's on a great side of town. And I think all the people here are like professionals and it's really cool. And I mean, I like the vibes, I like the atmosphere and everything. It's fine. Like they have to constantly, you're not allowed to say anything that's not nice. That whole, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, ruined us. That's one of Satan's lies, I believe. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Now, we should not seek to harm others with our words. We should not seek to be mean and cruel, to be mean and cruel for cruel sake. But you have to speak the truth, because what happens is you end up in situations like that. Like, I cannot tell y'all how many people's feelings I've hurt on accident just because by nature I just speak, like I just tell the truth. It rolls out. And then it's after that I'm like, uh-oh, oops, oh crap. Oh, damn it, I did it again. Like, because I don't realize that they had set up some sensitivity around something. You know what I mean? Like, and it made me now, and it makes me self-conscious around people because I don't know when I can ever speak the truth or tell how I feel about a thing, who I'm going to hurt today. And this is typically in real life. Who am I going to hurt today by saying something like, man, this food isn't very good? You know what I mean? Committed to the facade. Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's in the chat. Committed to the facade. Yeah. And like I said in the last live stream, there's nothing wrong with something being wrong. Now, there's a difference between just saying, man, the food's not very good here, huh? And being like, oh, the food's not good. I don't like this tablecloth. I don't like the waiter's shirt. I don't like his shoes either. What are they doing over there? Do you see her hair? Ooh, her hair is so ugly. Ugh, what is the band playing? Oh my God, those instruments look so old. Oh my gosh. Like, there's a difference between being just a nasty critic, just critiquing every little thing. And again, at the same time, you actually kind of sort of have a right to that. But my whole thing, it's kind of hard to differentiate. It's kind of hard to explain what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is there's a difference between a person who's never satisfied, no matter what, and just likes to make people feel bad, about their efforts, and a person who is simply telling the truth. For example, like, let's say the food was great, but you had to wait 45 minutes to be seated. That's a truth, right? So if you told another set of friends, oh yeah, the food was great, but we had to wait forever to be seated. Like, that's not being negative, that's being honest. So they'll know, you know what I mean? So they'll know, okay, if we ever want to go there, we need to be prepared to wait. Don't go there expecting to be seated right away. That's what the truth does. The truth now enables you to make better decisions. It's not about ragging on the restaurant. Do you see what I mean? Let me move off this because I could go on forever. This is on page 207. It says Satan can use any human sin or weakness basically to accomplish his goals, but its principal weapon is fear. Fear is the motivator. And fear, when you really stop to think about it, like what fear does to people, it is truly sad. And I can see how that could be used to move people around like a puppet on a puppet string. Fear, the fear of this, the fear of that, fear of missing out, fear of being critiqued, fear of being laughed at, fear of, not doing that, fear of doing that, just generalized fear. And how that motivates people to do things that they sometimes don't want to, you know? And so fear is the primary tool that Satan uses to spread his lies and accomplish his goals. Fear. And this also helps me to understand why God values courage, which could also be looked at as faith. Courage and faith could honestly be looked at as the same thing, although they are slightly different. Courage and faith could honestly be looked at as the same thing because courage is basically standing up to fear or going toward fear even though you're scared to death. That's courage, or that's also faith. And not to say be foolish and do foolish things and put yourself in dangerous situations, but one leap of faith that I talk about on this channel all the time is just having the courage and the faith to move on from a job that is toxic or evil or harboring narcissists or bringing down your mental, emotional, or physical health or threatening you in some way, threatening your livelihood, wielding their power over you to scare you, the fear of poverty, the fear of having no money, the fear of not having health insurance. Those are all actually really scary things and all very real. So yeah, I see why you're scared of them. But the courage to move in spite of that fear could also be viewed as faith. Faith. And if you're smart and you start playing your cards right while you are employed, you can move with less fear because you will have set yourself up a nice little security blanket. You can read all about it in my Kindle ebook called Surviving Narcissists in the Workplace. Okay? Because I'm telling you, I wouldn't be where I was today if I operated out of fear. I would still be at my first job and I would be miserable, hanging on by a string. Thank you so much for the super chat, Limes. I appreciate it. Welcome to the show. It says 100% PTE. Thanks again for this message. I truly appreciate your channel and core belief on the battle between good and evil. Thank you once again. Thank you. I appreciate your ongoing support. It really means a lot to me. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad you're enjoying the show and the series. We're almost done. Well, no, we're not. Who am I kidding? If I had to estimate, I think we'll finish around. Nope, I'm not even doing that. Nope. We will finish when we finish. How about that? We'll finish when we finish. All right. Moving on to page 207. Mental health is an ongoing process of dedication to reality at all costs. Satan is utterly dedicated to opposing that process. And one day I'm going to come up with better examples to give you of that dedication to reality at all costs. Okay. I could give you a simple and truly superficial example, but it is the truth. For example, have you ever taken a picture with someone, looked at it, and gone, "Ooh, my face looks crazy. Can we take it again?" And your friend or whomever is like, "Sure, of course." And you take it again until you get a picture that you both like. That's called a dedication to reality at all costs. You looked at the picture, and the reality that it was saying to you was, "You look crazy." Oh no, we got to retake that. Mm-mm. That's a dedication to reality. It is. It is, you guys. Or just to stick with the interview theme, if you go on an interview and you know you didn't do very well and you come out and you go, "Well, I blew that." That's a dedication to reality. But what that dedication to reality does is enable you to do better the next time. That's what it does. So if you know that you blew the interview, then you probably know how you blew it, so you can work on not blowing it the next time. You see what I'm saying? Here's another, well, no, that's more memory. What I was going to say though was, like, if you're driving a new route and you miss your exit, the dedication to reality is, okay, I just missed my exit. So the next time you come that way, hopefully you won't miss it the next time. But that's more memory. That's more of a memory thing than a dedication to reality. But do you guys see my point? Here's one that some of you might relate to. You might have children in school, right? Maybe you started your child at a new school. And after one semester, you notice that their performance is slipping. So after you do some investigative research, you find out that basically the school kind of sucks, for lack of better words, and you pull your child out and put them in a different school and they start to perform better. Your dedication to reality, which was, my child is not performing well here, enabled you to make a better decision. Do you see what I'm saying? I'll come up with better examples for you guys, I promise, because we have to talk about this. And the reason it means so much to me, and I think I really want to discuss it more, is because I can see everywhere in great and small ways how a lack of this dedication to reality is getting us in all kinds of trouble in ways you wouldn't even think. You see what I mean? So we'll talk more about that because it deserves to be standalone. But that is how you maintain mental health. You have to keep it real, primarily with yourself first. If you can't keep it real with yourself, you can forget mental health. You can forget it. You really can. You have to be able to be honest with yourself first. And once you're able to be honest with yourself, then you can start to be honest with everything else that's going on around you. You see what I mean? So let's continue. This is on page 208. It says, it says exorcisms can reveal not only extraordinary demonic brilliance, but also extraordinary demonic stupidity. And have we not talked about that over and over and over again? And we even have a little name for them, the evil idiot. The evil idiot. And it is quite the interesting mismatch though. Like, demons are very, very crafty, but like also so stupid. Like, they have major blind spots. And I don't know if that's, how does it say in the tech world? I don't know if that's a feature or a bug. I can't tell if that's a feature or a bug of the demon. If if the stupidity is like designed that way, it's supposed to be stupid like that, or if it's a bug. Like, if it's just something that happens maybe as a direct result of arrogance and hubris. They think they know so much and they think they're so smart that they miss things. They miss things that they should have seen or would have seen had it not been for their arrogance and pride. But these would be our evil idiots. Truly, they are evil idiots. And it's amazing that they can't see it. And it's amazing that they can't fix it either. At least it doesn't appear that they can fix it short of an exorcism. And let's never forget that according to this book, the exorcism can take several days for several hours at a time, anywhere between 12 to 16 hours a day to exorcise the demon out of somebody. Okay? So, oosh, if it takes that much to exorcise that demon, can you imagine how much it would take to educate it? Like, I don't think it can be done. I wonder if one of the first things I think about this is funny to me. Like, let's say Judgment Day is taking place or has just taken place, and the fresh crop that's going to heaven, right? It has been selected, or they think so anyway. And the first thing that God does is put you back in school. So we can correct all these little grammar, spelling, subject verb agreement type issues, correct different things, that just fell apart in grade school and elementary and high school and middle. What's the first thing God does is put us back in school. And those that revolt against that are going to get tossed in the pit with everybody else. I think that would be so funny. I think it would be hilarious. Like, all right, well, step one, you're going back to school. Because if you're smart, you'll just be like, okay, no problem. Not a problem. But I imagine there'll be a revolt, and that revolt is going to get you put back in that pit. I'm telling you. But this is on page 208. It says, were it not for extraordinary pride and narcissism, Satan would probably not reveal itself at all. So, in other words, I think what he's trying to say here is it would be more beneficial to Satan and to evil in general to stay quiet and to stay hidden. But Satan simply cannot help himself. It's like he has to get the credit. He has to have people know that it was him. You understand? That's part of it. Like, see, I feel, well, obviously psychopaths are evil, but I feel like the psychopath is at least smart enough to hide. But Satan is not. Evil is not. But psychopaths are part of all of that. Different discussion, but it says, were it not for extraordinary pride and narcissism, Satan would probably not reveal itself at all. But he just can't help it. And I think this is why they confess so often. They have to tell somebody. They want somebody to be proud of them, proud of their handiwork. I think this is also why we're seeing a rise of some of the most demonic behavior in our society that we've ever seen. Again, they're tired of hiding. They want credit. They want recognition. You know what I mean? And when you keep praying to God, it's like you're taking all their credit away. So they're starting to just come out and reveal themselves. And they're starting to feel very safe because the world is starting to look like punishment is not coming for them. So they're also starting to feel quite comfortable in their surroundings. Y'all, I'm turning on a little fan right next to me. If it gets too loud, it should drown itself out in a second. But if it starts to get too distracting, let me know and I will turn it off because it's hot in here because I didn't want my air to come on. All right. So let's move on. And again, let me know if that fan gets annoying, but I think it actually starts to drown itself out in a minute. But this is on page 208. It said it wanted only to win. So in both cases, it hung in there until the bitter end, with the end result that I and others today now know its reality. So in other words, it was saying that the demon could have expelled itself, but it really, really wanted to hang in there. And it did until it finally got kicked out, which made me think about narcissists eventually imploding. Sound is good? Awesome, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. So it means, so interesting how it can suppress background noises like that. But the demon, it just, in other words, it doesn't know what's good for itself. It doesn't know what's good for it. You know how they say, for your own good, or you wouldn't know how to save your life or whatever for your own good. Same thing here. Same thing with narcissists. They just keep going and going and pushing and pushing. They don't know when to stop. They don't know when to throw in the towel. They don't know when they've been defeated. And so they go until their absolute destruction, until the bitter end, the bitter end. Okay. So, and oh, yeah. That's another part about this that I wanted to talk about. That part where he says, until I and others today now know its reality. So in other words, they keep going until they're exposed. Dummies, idiots. They so don't know when to quit. They so don't know when to stop. They so don't know when to throw in the towel that they keep going until they are exposed. A lot of your favorite celebrities who I know y'all don't want to believe are these type of people. Some of them are indeed innocent, but a lot of them are actually guilty, guys, because what happens is They just keep going until they're exposed. They got away with it the first time, and the second time, and the third time. And instead of stopping while they were ahead, they just kept going until they were exposed. That's what this is saying. They just keep going and going. And think about it like this. If you keep getting away with something that you know you're not supposed to be doing, it says that fan is really cooling your speakers down. Is that good or bad? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think I'm gonna turn it off. Um, when you keep getting away with something you know you're not supposed to be doing, it makes you feel like you'll get away with it forever. So you just keep doing it. You keep doing worse versions of it because why not? You haven't gotten caught yet. And that's why they eventually get caught because they just don't know when to stop while they are ahead. Like, for example, people who extort like millions of dollars out of companies. It's wrong to even extort $1. Oh, it's a good thing. Okay. Okay. Um, it's wrong to extort even $1. We should not steal. Stealing is wrong. But what happens is first they extorted 100 or embezzled, I think is the word I'm looking for. Then they embezzled 1,000. Then they embezzled 10,000. Instead of stopping while they were ahead, they just kept going until they embezzled so much money that somebody noticed. You see, it has no off switch. It doesn't know how to control itself. Okay. So that's another sign you're dealing with a demon or a narcissistic person. They just won't stop. They just don't know when to quit. They won't let up. They won't let it go. It's amazing. Even to their own destruction, they will go down with their ship. It's amazing. So this is on page 208. And it says Satan is completely ignorant of the ground rules of love. Okay. So the author here was saying that Satan had two character flaws that he had identified, among other things. Among other things, two character flaws. One being that Satan was completely ignorant of the ground rules of love. And what this made me think was that Satan is also ignorant of just simply how human beings work. Like, have we not talked about that a million times? Like, let me read it. It says, in the same way, Satan's intelligence is afflicted with two other blind spots I have observed. One is that by virtue of its extreme self centeredness, it has no real understanding of the phenomenon of love. It recognizes love as a reality to be fought and even to be imitated, but, but utterly lacking it itself. It does not understand love in the least. You know who this made me think of? Wait. It says, its reality appears to Satan only like the reality of a bad joke. You know what this made me think of? This made me think of the manosphere. Not the sum total. I'm talking about the hateful arm of the manosphere. You know, the one who just told women everywhere that winter is coming. Okay. That one, that arm. I'm going to read it again with that in mind. It says, Satan's intelligence is afflicted with two other blind spots. One is that by virtue of its extreme self-centeredness, it has no real understanding of the phenomenon of love. It recognizes love as a reality to be fought and even to be imitated, but utterly lacking it itself. It does not understand love in the least. Its reality appears to Satan only like the reality of a bad joke. No fan. Great. I'm glad I don't hear that. Good. That means I can leave it on for a while. Whew. I didn't want to pass out on air. Like, what would that even sound like? Like, if y'all ever hear something like this, and then like nothing, call somebody, okay? Call YouTube and tell them to send somebody, okay? Ooh, because it was hot in here. But anyway, but I also had a little bit of caffeine, so I think I'm charged up. So Satan doesn't understand love. Satan can't process love. Satan doesn't get it. So for example, like when Satan sees you with your pets and sees you loving on your pets, Satan looks at you like, it's just a dog. Or It's just a cat or whatever it is you love that's a pet. I imagine it's the same thing with children. When Satan sees you loving your children or doing nice things for your children, Satan doesn't get it. It's just a kid. It's just a stupid kid. And I'm not saying Satan is always a man, because obviously there are evil, wicked women in the world as well. So it could go in reverse. Like if the woman is Satan in the picture and she sees you with your kids, she might be like, why does he love those stupid kids so much? You know what I mean? I was thinking about this the other day. This is kind of related but unrelated. I don't think I don't think we should trust people who have never had a pet. And I don't mean for purposes of allergies or work. So, in other words, if you're allergic and you've never had a pet because you are allergic to them, you're totally excused. If you're like in the military and you're always gone and you wouldn't be able to maintain a cat or a dog because you'd never be home, or you're like a nurse or a doctor and you'd never be home or something like that, you're excused. I'm talking about those of you who are not allergic, got plenty of space in the house, big old yard, no job that keeps you away from the house like that, and you've never had one and never wanted one either. Now, I know there's some people who are like with PETA, and they say that having pets in any way is just wrong to own an animal. So there are some people who are taking that position. I think I'm going to excuse you too, because I actually understand your position. Mine would be that, but they still exist though. So if they still exist here on planet Earth, somebody's got to take care of them, right? That's a different conversation for a different show. But I think the point I'm trying to make is, have they ever loved anything that could not return the love to them? Have they ever loved something smaller than themselves that requires them to be sensitive and caring and considerate and kind? Have they ever, even like a freaking fish, man? Like, I'll take a fish. Have you loved a cricket? Like, do you guys see my point? And again, I know that's making a huge general statement. I know there's lots of people who never had any kind of pet. No, I'm not calling you a narcissist, but I am wondering about you a little bit though. Because I think back on all the people I've ever known who've never had pets, and they're some of the nastiest people I've ever met. And I'm aware that narcs have pets too, but I'm telling you, man, there's something there. There's something there. There's something about it, like, and not even a softness for them either. So they've never had a pet, never wanted a pet. And then when they see like puppies and kittens and baby birds, they don't go, oh, there's no warmth there for it. There's nothing there for it. I don't trust that. I don't think I trust that. I certainly wouldn't trust you around my pets, because you don't get it. Like, you don't even get why they're cute. And I'm not saying my pets are cute. Obviously, I'm biased, but like, you don't even get why I would find them cute. Do you see what I mean? Don't get me started. This is a different conversation. I've been meaning to do a follow-up video on narcissists hate cats anyway, so I might save this conversation for that video. Um, but yeah, man, it really boils down to, have you ever loved anything smaller than yourself that could not repay you in any way but love and their presence? Have you? And if not, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Now, if you don't trust yourself and you think you would accidentally kill it, then by all means, please don't get a pet. Please. Like, if you know you'll forget to feed it, like that, I think that's a different conversation. Right. Because it also tells me they probably never experienced unconditional true love either. And you've never had your heart broken in the worst way available. So if you've never gone through those two things, we're actually different people. We're totally different people. You've never loved an animal, never have had your heart broken by the loss of that animal. We're different people. We have gone through different things. So anyway, The other one, some of you will appreciate this. This is on page 208. It says Satan also does not understand science. And I almost didn't put this in here because of the hot button nature of science right now. Science is definitely a hot issue on the table right now. But I think, as with everything else, we can expand it out. And it made me think about how they try to override principles, simply like, gravity. And if you jump out of a window, you'll probably hit the ground. Probably, more than likely, principles. What goes up typically comes down. You know what I mean? We talk about this often, but I think it's so important. So important. So, you know, this could be why the narcissist often accidentally sets things on fire. You know what I mean? Yeah, the law, things of that nature, or at least the laws of nature. So this is in there too. But he said that these are two of Satan's blind spots. Satan doesn't understand science, and Satan doesn't understand love. So I thought that was interesting. So I threw that one in there. Moving on, this is on page 209. It says, but in each case, I witnessed the exorcist, strong, mature, and faithful, temporarily incapacitated by confusion in one case and by despair in the other as a result of the power of its lies. In other words, the lies that Satan tells and the persistence and relentlessness with which he tells these lies can incapacitate even an experienced exorcist. So that means that even the most seasoned people of dealing with these people can be thrown off by them. And I'm telling you, you can. Like, it's like getting caught in a washing machine, but you don't realize it until it's like on the rinse cycle. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm in a washing machine. Oh my God, how did I get in here? It's like, man, we have so much to talk about because a lot of it is quite subtle. And that's the whole point. Like, it comes in subtly at first. And that's probably why you don't notice and why it incapacitates you and incapacitates even an experienced exorcist, the power of these lies and lying. Okay. Yeah, we've all been there, right? Like confusion. Remember, we were talking about, or actually, we did a whole episode called Evil is Confusing. That confusion is a telltale sign of what you're dealing with. Truly, it is. It is. Okay. And it can throw off even an experienced exorcist. That's why, hold on, going back real quick. This is also why I think that many narcissists interrupt a lot. Because in interrupting the conversation and interrupting the flow of conversation, which typically is leading to the truth, they prevent the exorcism. They short circuit the exorcism. Because if you can't complete your thought or you can't ask all your questions, ultimately you can't hold them accountable. And thereby you have prevented, or they have prevented, the exorcism. That's why they interrupt all the time, because they can feel it coming. They know that exorcism is coming. They feel it. All right. Yes. Okay. So still on page 209, it says, yet one of the most profound impressions of the exorcism was how boring it was. The endless string of silly lies. Man. And I told y'all this years ago. I said, over time, narcissists should bore you to tears, really. But over time, narcissists should bore you guys. They should become boring because it's just like they lie so much. Their lies are so easily debunked. Their lies are so easily chopped up and destroyed. But worse than that, though, is their commitment to the lies and their commitment to repeating the lies to you as if saying them to you more than once makes it true. Like, it just becomes boring. It's like, is this really all you have? This is all you have, isn't it? This is all you got. And this is why they like to loop in new supply, because the new supply is not familiar with all of their lies. Okay. So, dang, man. I just threw a deck of cards away last night because it came in like a little swag bag, like a little corporate swag bag, and it had things on there like positivity, vision, agile, teamwork, leadership. And I was like, and I threw them all in the trash. Not because I'm not all about those things, but I just like they literally triggered me and made me want to throw up. But now I wish I hadn't, because I could have shuffled them on air for my example. And I was going to say, imagine the narcissist has 52 lies, right? And how many cards in here? Nope, no cards. That's so tragic. I wish I knew what examples I was going to do ahead of time. Well, you know what? You know what I do have? I got Post-it notes, okay? So I want y'all to pretend that those are playing cards. Just pretend, okay? And pretend there's 52 of these, okay? Let's say the narcissist has 52 lies, right? And when you first meet them, you hear lie 1 through 10, okay? But over time, you start to hear 10 through 20, 20 through 30, 30 through 40. And eventually you get all the way to 52. You've heard all 52 lies, right? So they ran all 52 on you the first time. Then after you have your big argument, you're falling out, you're not talking to them, then y'all make up, you start talking again. They just start over again with all 52 lies, right? So eventually you should get really tired of all 52 lies. You should actually start to be able to rehearse them after a while. But what happens is when the narcissist meets someone new, they're not familiar with the deck of cards, the book of lies. They're not. So the narcissist is excited because now they can start over with 1 through 10, then 10 through 20, then 20 through 30, 30 through 40, and then eventually 40 through 52. You see? So this is why they should become boring, because this is all they got. They don't have any other cards. They don't have any other decks. This is it. This is literally all they got. Well-rehearsed, well-practiced lies. This is it. This is it. Okay? And that should actually bore you. And he was actually saying that the exorcism becomes boring because they just start repeating lies over and over and again. And it sucks after a while. It becomes boring. Okay? So this is on page 210. It says, there is some evidence to suggest that there is less freedom in the world of demons than in the world of human beings, that by virtue of their cowardice and terror and belief in their own lies, lesser demons act in such a strict obedience to their superiors that they tend to lack individuality as we ordinarily think of it. So in other words, and I swear we've talked about this before, I'm starting to lose track of content, y'all. It's been so many years and we've covered a lot of different things, but I feel like we've discussed how, like, really they're all under the hierarchy. Like, they're in a hierarchy. They're not free. Like, they are very much culted up. They very much heel to their demonic superiors. They're very afraid of getting in trouble. And if I'm not mistaken, when R.E. Dossett was on the show, basically they break the demonic contract when they're nice to you. So anytime they're kind to you or do a kindness to you or anything righteous towards you, they've broken their demonic contract, and they're going to get in a lot of trouble for that. They're going to have to pay for that. Oh, they're going to have to pay for that nice thing that they did for you. So maybe this is why they choose to be nasty and choose to be ugly all the time, because it's not worth it to get in trouble for being nice to you. You see? So what this is saying is they're not free to move around. They're cowards and terrified, and they believe their own lies. So the lies that they tell you are also lies that they tend to believe themselves, you guys. They believe their own lies. And they act in strict obedience to their superiors. Okay. So this is why, like, when you start to see cults form online or like even on YouTube, like even after the person does something like egregious, there are people who are like, that's okay. That's okay that they did that. Yeah, so what? Like people who will basically go down with the ship. And while that type of loyalty is great, I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's ever healthy for someone to basically worship you to the point where you can do no wrong. Because then what happens is when you are doing wrong, let's say you've become delusional with power, right? And you're delusional, so you don't realize it because you're currently delusional, right? If you're delusional with power and people treat you like you can do no wrong, then you might actually be doing wrong and you don't realize it because nobody will tell you. Nobody has the courage to tell you, hey, I think you're going off course. You know what I mean? So basically, the people can support you to your own death, basically, literally and figuratively. So, I mean, this is an extreme example. This is extreme. And I hate to use this as an example. And I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I think it works. Recently, there was an influencer. She was overseas. It wasn't here in America. But part of what she did was like climb up on high rocks and gorges and valleys and cliffs and take like really extreme pictures and post them to her Instagram, right? And she did that, and that worked for a long time until recently she slipped and fell, and unfortunately she did not make it, right? So when I say that your fans could encourage you to your death, that's what I mean. Because did any of her fans ever say, hey, darling, stop, like, we love you, we care about you, please come off the cliff, like, please, like, you don't have to do this anymore. We love the pictures you've taken already. That's great. Like, just show us like fashion and makeup. And again, not saying that she should change her whole everything and do what other people tell her to do. But what I'm saying is, if no one has the courage to tell you the truth, that could lead you to your own destruction. Ultimately, it really could. And it could get it to where, like, I'm watching it, excuse me, watching it happen in real time to an influencer right now. I'm not going to say who, but this person basically went from obscurity to amassing almost 500,000 subscribers on YouTube to now, like, them views are dropping off, baby. And it's incredible to watch the rise, the arc, and the fall. But if his fans had been real with him, he would have seen it coming. But they support him no matter what he does, no matter what. I don't ever want to be a no matter what. Never. Because that's dangerous, man. I'm telling you, it's dangerous. It can lead you to your own destruction. It can. It can, because it's already leading this particular person to his, because they just egged him on and egged him on and egged him on until he made a fool of himself. Complete fool. Okay? Sorry to be vague, but I'm just not trying to stir drama, but I'm just saying I'm watching that happen in real time. So anyway, yeah, they tend to lack individuality, no personality. They go along to get along. They end up being culted and joining cults and leading cults, because anything to be part of that, to at least have that personality versus their own, because that's too difficult. It's too difficult to carve out your own personality. So they adopt one, essentially. So this is, yes, the hive mind, exactly. Yes. So this is the last slide. And then we are going to take a quick break, and then we will go into after show. Okay. So the author mentions the perfect possession on the last slide. Well, sorry, towards the end of this chapter. And he says, if there is such a thing as perfect possession, it is highly likely to preclude its own revelation. In other words, if there is such a thing as perfect possession, it's highly likely to prevent its own discovery. And what perfect possession is, I had to read it a couple of times to truly try to understand. But basically, what he was saying was some of the people he worked with only seemed to be partially possessed. Like one half of them was still there, and one half of it was full demonic possession. But what he was surmising was, are there people out there who are perfectly possessed, meaning completely gone, like possessed at 100% with no hope for recovery, basically? And he was saying if they are out there, then they would work very hard to hide their own discovery, basically. So, like, you wouldn't even know. But remember, he was saying that the hardest exorcisms are on the people who look the most normal. So maybe that's what he was saying, that it's the ones who are perfectly possessed who are the most difficult to exorcise. And if that's the case, what are you going to do at home in your living room, honey? Okay. So that completes this particular episode of People of the Lie, episode 11, The Father of Lies. We are working our way through this book and we are going to finish. So thank you all so much for being here. We are going to go ahead and take a quick little intermission, if you will. And then we will do a quick after show where I read through the comments that I can see, and then we'll get out of here, okay? So sit tight and I will be back momentarily. Looking to expand your book collection but not sure where to start? With everything going on this past year, why not get away in the prophetic love story of Jazzman, written by V. Prophetess Hazlitt? Based on the lovely setting of Rhinebeck, New York, Jazzman is a love story that proves lasting love still exists. Pick up your paperback or Kindle copy today, link in the description box below. All right. I am back. Welcome to the after show, everybody. Fan is still on. Is it still good? Good sound? I hope so, because it's still hot in here, man. It's just hot. It's hot outside. It's hot inside. Ugh. Yes. So I wanted to once again plug the mailing list. So for those of you who signed up, how did it go? I hope it went according to plan. I hope it went according to plan. Thank you, number one, to the viewer who recommended it to me, recommended MailChimp to me. Thank you. I don't remember who it was, but I wanted to make sure I said thank you to you because it's literally exactly what I was looking for. Exactly what I was looking for. So thank you so much. So that's that. And then also thank you to the viewer who made me aware of the P.O. box that kicks back. I was aware of it ahead of time, but had I not been aware of it ahead of time, you would have told me, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. So thank you so much. I am grabbing the link now so I can just pin it. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, yes, I can. I'm going to pin it to the chat for anyone joining. And then how was the little kickback email? Did it kick back a little welcome email from me? I hope so. I hope so. All right, let me open this on YouTube and just mute it and pause it. Boom. Right. Now, here we go. All right, so I'm going to pin the link to the mailing address or to the mailing list to the chat. And the beautiful thing about this thing, you guys, is on the weeks that y'all don't like me or you hate me that week, I'm getting on your nerves, you can unsubscribe yourself, honey. Glory, hallelujah. You don't have to email me, and then I don't have to go and take your name off the spreadsheet and all this, that, and the third. Honey, if you like me, subscribe. And then when you don't like me, unsubscribe. And then when you like me again, subscribe again. It's all quite simple. Yes. So I love that. Oh my gosh. And it just looks so much better. Like it's exactly how I wanted it to look. Like I wanted them to be clean and pretty and all that. So huge weight off my shoulders. So you guys can expect to be notified once again when I'm going live. And I'm only going to do that for lives for now. If I ever change it to uploads, I'll let you know. So those of you who don't want that can unsubscribe. God, it's so simple. I love it. So let's get into some of these comments and then we'll get out of here, you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me. It says, let's see here. It says, when you are fighting them, you anticipate such sophistication, but then the lies are so obvious, right? Like you really go in prepared for battle, and then you realize that you are up against just a house of cards, really. And you really don't even get to flex your debate muscles. All right, let's see here. It says, yawn, is that all you got? Silly demon tricks are for kids. Silly demon tricks are for kids, right? Man, but I think their most effective strategy, honestly, is how persistent they are. They can literally wear you out, and they often do wear you out. And I honestly think that is their strongest tool, their inexhaustibility. Okay. It says that's an additional reason why they precipitate chaos to keep you from seeing how boring they are as well as to transfer your energy to them when they're depleted, which is often. Exactly. They're trying to hide that boredom, baby. How really truly uninteresting they can be oftentimes. Because really, because and I think this has to do with the creativity aspect. If there's nothing original going on in their minds, they really don't have anything original to offer you. So they have to kind of keep you entertained with these circus tricks. So you never discover that the library is empty, honey. Speaking of libraries and empty, that P.O. box that kicks back to you, you can use it if you want to. Send me books, send me pens, send me whatever you want to. It's there and I'm paying for it every month. So I want it to justify itself. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, more on that toxic positivity. I think I need to do a show on that because it is so dangerous. Like, I get wanting to create a healthy atmosphere and a happy atmosphere. But I think what they forget is that a lot of happiness is born out of genuine, real success. And like real happiness is born from real things. So, like, the business itself running well, performing very well that quarter, happy customers, customers who brag about you and your products and your services and your company because they love it. Like, that's the type of stuff that generates happiness. Oh, here's one: paying people what they're worth, paying people living wages. That generates happiness. You see what I mean? Like, oftentimes the money they spend on like balloons and cake, they could just take that money and divide it out amongst the employees, and that would probably make them happy. It might only be like $6. I'll take that $6 and put it in my gas tank. But happiness is born from real actions and real things, not artificial ones. And I think they think if you just keep on smiling, eventually it'll be a happy place. That's it. That's all they got. Let's see. It says they only have a few jokes that were initially funny after telling them many times, and that's all they got. That's it. That is it. Television is one of the worst things that ever happened to these people because when they pick up on something that they like, that's it. A joke that they like, a phrase, anything, that's it. And it'll never go away. It's in their repertoire, it's in their deck of cards. So they got to, hey, listen, they got a book of lies, okay? They got a book of jokes and probably a book of stories. And that's it. Let's see. Oh, man. Yeah, this stuff is creepy. It says, oh my God, chilled right down to the bone. Yeah, a lot of this is very, very creepy. Let's see. It says, nowhere in the Bible does it say Satan was some beautiful angel who dealt with music. Where do people get the story? Doesn't say that Satan was beautiful? Let me see. Where in the Bible does it say? I thought it said like he was the most glorious or something. Say Satan was beautiful. Let's see. You might be right. I don't know. I just always thought it was there. Maybe that's one of those things that just gets circulated, but it's not true. But didn't it say that he was once like the most glorious? Or maybe people get that from, oh, Lucifer, son of the morning. Maybe that's where they get it from. Son of the morning. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? In other words, you of all people. Oh wait, hold up. says Ezekiel 28, 12, and 13. Let's check it out. Let's see. I don't know. Let's find out. Blue Letter Bible. Let's see here. All right. Okay. Ezekiel. What was that? 12. Try that. See where that takes us. And this one says Ezekiel, 28. Chapter 28, verse 12 and 13. All right, let me try that again. Ezekiel 28. Let's see. It doesn't quite say it there. Hold on. I don't know. I'll have to look into that more. But I could have sworn it said somewhere in there. Let me see if any of you have answered it already. 28 and 17. Hold on, let me see. Ezekiel 28, 17. Here it is. Okay, here, let me just see if I can display it. Well, what it says before I try to display it. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled my sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities. But I'll have to look into that more because they might have been talking to one of the churches. I have to look into that more. But good question. I don't know, because that happens quite often. People think something is in the Bible and it's really not. So I don't know. I don't know where the minister of music part comes from either, but I could have sworn that was in there too. It says that hierarchy, meaning the demonic hierarchy, is because they have natural discernment also, plus the hive mind are all explained by the oversoul / group soul complex. The hierarchy follows the cluster B spectrum. Mm. Mm. That's weird. Says they repeat, read, rehearse often because anything we listen to repeatedly, the mind will accept after a while. They also need to keep themselves deluded to avoid the pain of reality flooding in. Right. And that repetition is so key to the brainwashing, man. Wow. Like that repetition is unbelievably key to the brainwashing. Wow. Like I can't even put words to it. But it works though. I can't get over how well it works. The human mind is so susceptible. It's so susceptible that it really makes you wonder, would you really be you, or are you only you because of how you grew up and who your family was and your environment? Like if you plucked you out of your family and grew up in a different family, would you still have come out the same person? That's the question. I don't know, because the mind is so susceptible. hmm I know. I like this song too. The more you listen to it, if you really listen to it, it is so like, it's funky, man. I like it, but it's supposed to be creepy. Y'all made me laugh when y'all were trying to figure out the name because people were like, what's the name of the Sexy Time song? And I was laughing because it's not supposed to be sexy. It's supposed to be creepy, but it's creepy with a little bit of funk to it, you know? I like it. I jam out to it sometimes. Let's see. I'm going to turn this fan off for a while because now I'm getting cold. All right. Excuse me. Let's see. Welcome to everybody in the chat. We're just hanging out, going through comments. It says, haha, they can't even defend their own conclusions. They really can't. Like, they really can't do it twice. They can't walk it back either. They can't retrace their own steps, really. And again, like I said the last show, and it even says it in the book, you would almost feel sorry for them if they weren't so destructive and evil. If it weren't for the things that they actually do, you would almost feel sorry for them. You really would. Because it's pitiful. It's just so pitiful. Like, why choose to live life in that way? And I think it's just because the opposite, choosing righteousness, requires too much backtracking, and they're going to get in a lot of trouble with their demonic overlords if they try to choose righteousness. Mm. Says PTE, great show, deep subject, this narcissism. May the Holy Spirit teach us and help us teach people in order that they come to the full, complete knowledge of our Father. Amen. We need it. This society needs it, man. So badly. Like, I just often just think like, okay, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Like, something has to give. Like, something's going to have to give, you know? Like, are we ready to take over? Like, are the next generations really ready to take over the reins? So, in other words, even though we rag on the boomers, right now they're in charge of a lot of stuff. So, as they start to fade out and phase out, are we really ready to take over? Do we have the wherewithal? Do we have the knowledge? Do we have the skills? Do we have the personalities to truly take over? Because there's a lot of things that just require skill and patience and time. And I don't know that we as a society still have that. Let's see here. It says, I think claiming Satan is beautiful encourages him followers. I think that's in my humble opinion. I mean, possibly, but what this does make me think is that this is why Satan is so focused on looks, because looks were very important to Satan. And part of the reason he got kicked out of heaven in the first place, got sold on himself, basically. Um, it would make sense to me that Satan would be beautiful, because why would God design anything ugly or want to be around anything ugly? But at the same time, perhaps this is why they're so vain and so focused on the outward appearance. Or maybe one of the lies is to get you to focus excessively on the outward appearance, when in reality, it doesn't matter and it's not going to save your soul. Like, it matters to an extent, but ultimately it's not going to save your soul. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Like, think about how many people devote their lives to their outward appearance, but have devoted nothing to the interior. So they're absolutely gorgeous or handsome, but just as dumb as a box of rocks. And the rocks might actually have more sentience. Here it is. Is this Ezekiel? Ezekiel says, your heart was proud because of your beauty. Yeah, you corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I exposed you before kings to feast their eyes on you. I do believe that it's talking about Satan, but it's possible that they were talking about the churches, which I think are a metaphor for something else. The Bible is such a riddle, but one that I feel like is like an open riddle, meaning like the truth is so obvious that we're missing it entirely, like completely. Like one of those like word puzzles or problems that are actually really simple once you know the answer, but it hems you up because it's so simple. That's what I think we're dealing with here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, we are coming up right on the 2 hour mark. Actually, just a little bit past 2 hours. So that seems to be right around where we end with this show, right around the 2 hour mark. So I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Everyone who listens on the playback, I hope that you enjoy it as well. And we will keep marching on in the book. Let's see what comes up next. I think this is pronounced my lie. I need to look it up and make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. My lie, an examination of group evil. So that will be our next stop in the book. And it looks like I've read through it already because I see highlighting. So that's where we will be headed. And then we will eventually get through this whole thing and close out our People of the Lie review. Okay. So again, do sign up for the mailing list if you are interested. I appreciate those of you who've already done so. Don't know when I'll do this again. It probably won't be Thursday. If anything, it'll probably be next Sunday, more than likely. So you can look for that then. I'm also going to try to do something not related to People of the Lie on this channel. I just have to decide what, because the ideas are flooding in right now, which is a blessing and a curse because I want to do them all at the same time. And I can't. I have to pick. So I'm going to pick a few and do those. But other than that, you guys, thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to have you. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And we will talk again very, 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 very soon. Okay. Take care. Bye.